What's up everyone, Commonwealth Snow here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install Manjaro Linux XFCE edition. Now it's pretty simple, but I'm also going to be doing a kind of review of the basic features that Manjaro comes with, so let's get right into it. So in order to download the ISO, you're going to need to navigate your way to the Manjaro website. From here you can click on this download button here, and it will come up with quite a few different versions of Manjaro that come bundled with different desktop environments. So the one on top, this is the XFCE, this is the one we are going to be installing in this video, but you can also scroll down and it also comes with KDE Plasma, and it also comes with GNOME. So you can kind of choose which one you want to start off with. You can, later on down the line, if you really want to, you can uninstall it and install your own desktop environment or window manager. So you have that choice there. But it's nice for them to give you this immediate choice of choosing between three quite popular desktop environments that can also work on a wide variety of computers varying in power. For example, the XFCE desktop environment is quite a lightweight desktop environment. It works on many different systems, no matter how old they are to a certain point. Whereas KDE Plasma is a bit more intensive. I'm not sure if you can see, but that's the one I'm using on my host system is KDE Plasma Manjaro. And then you have GNOME, of course, which is a bit more of a macOS-esque type of desktop environment. I'm not too sure on the usage that GNOME does. I've never properly used GNOME other than with Ubuntu, but once you've downloaded your chosen ISO, we can now navigate to VirtualBox. Now, the steps I'm going to be telling you to install this will work on both VirtualBox and on a physical computer, on Metal. So you shouldn't need to worry too much about that. Maybe some of the graphics settings you'll have to navigate your way around, but this should be perfect for what you want. So I'm going to click New here. We're going to type in Manjaro. We'll just leave it as Manjaro. We want Linux, and then we are going to select Arch Linux, as Manjaro is based off of Arch Linux. We're going to give this 4 gigs of memory. That should be plenty for the one we're installing today. Create a virtual hard disk, VirtualBox disk image, and we are going to be using dynamically allocated. The rough difference between them are listed here. So if you want to pause and read that, make up your own mind. It's all good. We're going to give this system, I think, 20 gigabytes of storage. It should be plenty. And we're going to create it. So now we need to navigate into settings. Click on system, deselect floppy, put that down here. Select hard disk, put that on the top. So when you boot first, you're going to skip the hard disk because there's nothing on it, and you're going to boot from the optical. And then when you go to reboot your system, once it's installed, your system will automatically select hard disk as it is the first one in the boot order. We are going to be doing a BIOS install as I'm in VirtualBox, and I am only allocating it 20 gigabytes of storage. But if you're doing this on hardware, obviously this VirtualBox selection menu you won't need. But yeah, stick with EFI. Stick with an EFI install if you're doing it on hardware. Processor, we're going to give it 2 cores. There should be plenty. Video memory, we're going to crank it up to 128 megs, and we're going to select VBox VGA for our graphics controller so we can get a full screen view later on. Click on storage, empty, and then you want to select your ISO file on your system. Selected it here, click OK, and now we are ready to boot into the live environment that Manjaro provides us with. So here we are. We can actually set some settings right from the get-go. So let's get doing that. Press enter, navigate with the arrow keys, and then select your time zone. So I am in the UK, so I'll click on Europe and then find London. Key table, you can select your key table if you want. I may as well select the one I'm using, which is GB, as I'm in Great Britain. And language, we may as well change this. This is the thing with these graphical kind of setup interfaces. They're very, very easy to use. And, well, compared to the Arch install, it's very easy to use, so it's very nice to have. Now here, we do have the choice between booting with open source drivers and booting with proprietary drivers. So open source drivers for newer GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs specifically, tend to be a bit worse for it. So I'm going to boot with, I don't know, because I'm in a VirtualBox, I don't think it matters. So I'm just going to boot with open source drivers. But yeah, if you're doing this on hardware, it's best for you to click the proprietary drivers. If you're using an if you're using an AMD card, open source should just be fine for you, as AMD are a bit less stuck up when it comes to helping out the community. Alright, welcome to Manjaro. Now, this will come up on when you first load it up. You can open it later on, so if we click X here and you want to get back to it, you can just navigate here and type in Manjaro hello, and it just comes up on the top here like this. So if you want to click on any of these, the documentation, support, projects, whatever, you can easily get back to that. So this is the live environment for Manjaro Linux. It gives you a chance to use the operating system without actually installing it onto your storage device, which is pretty nice. So you can boot this up on USB, plug it in your laptop or desktop, and experiment with it a bit, install some programs if you really want to, see how it deals with stuff if you really want to use it. In this case, we're definitely going to be installing it, so we can run the install Manjaro Linux manager here. A very clean install when compared to Arch Linux. Very graphical install when compared to Arch Linux. I'm going to click on next here. Make sure your time zone's right. I'm going to leave the keyboard. On the keyboard, you can also test if your keyboard is working. So if you have any issues like that with the keyboard not detecting, you'll be able to see it right here instead of later on down the line. So we're going to click on here. You do have the option to partition it yourself, but if you're installing Manjaro and you just want it to work out of the box, I do recommend just selecting this here. It will erase the disk and it will automatically install the partitions for you. You also get the option to install a swap partition. RAM is of course volatile memory, meaning as soon as power is cut off to RAM, it loses all data on it. Whereas storage devices such as SSDs and hard disk drives are known as non-volatile memory, where even when you lose power to it, it can still retain that data. So a swap device is basically an extension of RAM onto your hard disk-ish. So we're not going to select swap for now because we don't need to, we're just in a VirtualBox, but you do have that option here. We're going to do master boot record for the bootloader. And now we get to write our name. So we will call this my username Joseph. Joseph VirtualBox is pretty nice. Select your password. You can also log in automatically without asking for the password and use the same password for the admin account. Obviously, these are less secure, but like I say, I'm in the VirtualBox, it doesn't matter, but I would consider using different passwords for different accounts if you're using this on a laptop or something like that, just for extra bit of security. We'll get next, and now it gives us a nice overall look at the options we have selected, so you can quickly read over this and make sure everything you've clicked is correct and what you want. So now we click install, it'll give you a warning, install now. And now we just wait for it to do its thing. This shouldn't take massively long, as Manjaro Linux is quite a minimal distro. It's an Arch-based distro, so you get access to Arch-based stuff like the Pacman manager, but you also get access to PAMAC, which is it's Manjaro's spin on the Pacman manager. I have heard that there can be some confliction issues with PAMAC and Pacman. However, I have been using Manjaro Linux as my daily driver for around 2 weeks now, and I haven't encountered any sort of clash or update errors or anything like that. So your mileage may vary. but so far, for me anyway, so good. And because it is Arch based, you also have the option to customize it as much as you want. There are lots of documentation on how you can uninstall your desktop environment and install a window manager, for example. You can edit the you can edit absolutely everything the same way you can edit an Arch system, because it's based on Arch. I find the defaults to be alright. They're pretty good, the defaults. So they're good for productivity anyway. They might not be what you're looking for in terms of aesthetics, but you can always change that yourself. And that's it, we're all done. So now we can click on the Restart Now button here, click Done, and now our virtual machine will restart. And because we have selected the hard disk as the first in the boot order, it should boot up fine. If you're doing this on hardware, you will need to pull out your live USB before you can boot into the system, as your system will boot from the USB first, as it would be the first in the boot order. So we've got Joseph as our user account. Enter your secure password, log in, and here we are. We get the same Welcome to Manjaro tab that gives us some basic information and some directions on where to go if we get stuck, something like that. So we have the support, the forum, and stuff like that. It's pretty nice, and like I say, you can turn this off, launch at start, so this won't come up again, but it will be in your it will be on the applications menu if you ever need to come back to it. Okay, now I've got this full screened. Very nice, very nice. So here it is, Manjaro XFCE edition. It is very, very responsive, even in this virtual box with only 4 gigs of RAM and 2 cores allocated to it. So in the install, I selected the fully featured ISO. So we do have a suite of some simple applications, not too many, I don't think, but some basic applications to get you running. For example, we got Bluetooth manager. I'm fairly sure, yep, it comes with GIMP, Firefox, HP device manager for printers, stuff like that. HTOP, which is pretty nice. HTOP is quite useful. We get OnlyOffice, which is pretty interesting. Get Steam. Steam comes pre-installed with Manjaro, so I think they're hinting at you that this can be a gaming-oriented operating system. I don't do too much gaming, but it is there if you want to use it. It also comes with VLC Media Player and Timeshift. Timeshift is as it says here, a system restore utility, so you can kind of set snapshots of your system. So if you do encounter an issue which requires you to revert back to an older snapshot of your system, or you screw something up and you need to, and it's either that or formatting your system, you can go back to an older version, quote, older version of your system with all your stuff intact. So it's really useful so you can set a snapshot of your system, and then you can maybe install that one program that you're not too sure about, or you can make that one change to your desktop environment or something like that. And if it does go horribly wrong, you can just revert to your previous snapshot. So it's really, really quite useful. Also comes with the XFCE terminal, of course, and some other minor programs. But all in all, not too bad. We can open up the terminal. This is a very nice looking terminal, by the way. And then we can run HTOP. And you can see we are using 900 megabytes of RAM, which is, I think, around 300 megabytes less than KDE Plasma, which is quite a significant chunk. We can close that, see if it comes up with a neo fetch. Oh, it does not, so we can do sudo. Oh, actually, before we do that, we should update our system. Right, so when you install a fresh version of any Linux distro really, but especially something like Manjaro, you want to make sure it is fully up to date. Now, Manjaro comes with its own package manager, like many other popular distributions, so let's navigate our way into that. So here it is. It's very clean looking, very nice. We can click on this tab here, updates. It will check for some updates, and of course we have quite a few. Then we can hit apply here, enter your secure password to authenticate it, and it will update it here. Now you can do this through the terminal as well, but the package manager can sometimes be easier for menial tasks and just browsing through whatever packages are there. As you saw there, the total update size was around 148 megabytes, which does sound like a little bit, but the programs it was updating were not terribly out of date. We were running Firefox version 93, and we updated from that to Firefox version 94, which only came out around a week ago. So the ISOs for Manjaro are very, very up to date, very, very modern. So you won't need to worry about waiting forever for your system to update or something to break. Let's go on Firefox. Here we go. Now with the Firefox that comes pre-installed on your system, you do have some bookmarks that Manjaro have put on here. And of course, if you're privacy centric, just like me, you'd want to either go into the about config settings and change a bit, go into the settings in this tab here, or you can go into GitHub and clone a Git repository of your chosen Firefox privacy profile. There are quite a few Firefox privacy-centric profiles people have put together on GitHub, so if you want to install one of them, it's just as simple as any other distro. Just git clone whatever, and there you go. So let's go ahead and open up the terminal. Oh, sorry, I just opened up my host system. Let's try not to do that. So let's go into the terminal. Let's go for a neofetch. Neofetch doesn't come installed, but it's as easy as typing in sudo pacman-s neofetch. Type in your password. Bit of a misspell there. And there we go. Type in neofetch, and you get that classic M, solid color M. And you can see here we only have just over 1,000 packages, which is 200 less than around 150 less than what the Manjaro KDE Plasma version comes with, and around 800 to 900 packages less than what a distro like Pop! OS would come with by default. So this is a very, very minimal distro, and the ISO I chose even came fully featured with a surplus of different softwares and stuff like that. So this is very, very impressive. Within the suite of applications that came installed with this Manjaro ISO, you also have a firewall configuration, which is pretty interesting. I think using a firewall depends on your personal opinion. I've never really properly used a firewall, and by default the firewall is indeed off. But you do have the option to go into this and change it the way you want, and set your own rules and stuff like that. I've never really messed with firewalls, so I'm going to leave it off for now, but you can set different profiles. So if you go outside a lot, you can, like it says here, public, office, you can set your own profiles, be more restrictive on what can access, what can get through your firewall and what can't. So it is very versatile. And you can always install another one if it's not to your taste. Let's see if this system comes installed with Vim. I think Vim is one of the most important programs you can have on a Linux distro. So let's just try create a file with Vim. Now Vim does not come installed. What about VI? Does VI? Okay, VI does. Well, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt there. But if this was going to be my system, I would definitely make sure to install Vim, as Vim is very versatile and very efficient package for Linux. You can turn it into anything you want. There's many different plugins. I should maybe do a video on Vim. It's just such a core part of Linux. So yeah, that's about it really. The XFCE desktop environment coming with this distribution is very customizable, as I've said previously. You can really do a lot with XFCE. I don't think people give it enough credit. Yeah, window managers are cool and all, and much more efficient and much less, quote, bloated. But XFCE is a solid desktop environment. I know that there's been quite a few things going around online saying XFCE is just a useless pile of crap, but I really do quite like it. I do favour XFCE quite a bit. Even though I'm using KDE Plasma on my host system, I really like XFCE. I might even switch over to it. I have been thinking about switching my host system over to something like DWM, but I don't feel like I know enough to do that yet without causing some major issues or breaking something. But yeah, that's about it. This was just a quick overview of what you can expect from Manjaro and the XFCE desktop environment. I do have a video on desktop environments if you want to check that out. I also have a video talking about my experience using Manjaro as a daily driver, so you can also check that out. They're both on the channel. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please let me know by commenting or liking the video. We do a bunch of stuff like this, so if you really do like Linux and reviews of different distributions or talking about the in-depth details of elements of it, then maybe even subscribe. You might surprise yourself. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.